do you know when a shape is a rhombus? Because quadrilaterals all have four sides, it can be hard to tell the difference between them. When you need to identify a quadrilateral, how do you determine what kind of quadrilateral you're looking at? In this lesson, you will learn to identify specific kinds of quadrilaterals by looking at their attributes. You already know that a quadrilateral is a polygon with four sides and four angles. That includes any polygon, no matter what it looks like, as long as it has four sides. It does not include any polygon with more than four sides or angles, or less than four sides or angles. Quadrilaterals are special kinds of polygons because there are so many specific kinds. It can be helpful to think of quadrilaterals in two main categories. One group of quadrilaterals has two sets of parallel sides, or both opposite sides that are parallel, and the other group has one or less sets of parallel sides. Quadrilaterals with two sets of parallel sides include parallelograms, rectangles, squares, and rhombuses. Quadrilaterals with one or less sets of parallel sides include trapezoids and other quadrilaterals that can't be classified by any more specific name. In order to identify quadrilaterals, it's important to know the attributes or traits that are specific to each one. Let's look first at the quadrilaterals that have two sets of parallel sides, which means that there are two pairs of sides or lines that, if extended, would never touch. A parallelogram will always have two sets of parallel sides, or opposite sides that are parallel. It will also have two pairs of congruent sides, or opposite sides that are exactly the same length. A rectangle will also always have two sets of parallel sides and two pairs of congruent sides, and it will also always have four right or 90-degree angles. A square will also always have two sets of parallel sides, and it will have four congruent sides, or four sides that are all the same length, and it will also have four right or 90-degree angles. A rhombus will have two sets of parallel sides and four congruent sides, but it doesn't always have four right angles. Let's now take a look at quadrilaterals with one or less sets of parallel sides. A trapezoid's only required attribute is that it will have only one set of parallel sides. These will be opposite each other. There is a special kind of trapezoid called an isosceles trapezoid. Like a regular trapezoid, it has one set of parallel sides. It's special though because it also has a pair of congruent or matching sides. These will be the non-parallel sides. All other quadrilaterals that don't have all of the attributes of a special quadrilateral are just called quadrilaterals, or non-specific quadrilaterals. These include any four-sided shape that can be classified another way. Because there are so many special names for quadrilaterals, it can be tempting to call any quadrilateral you see either a parallelogram or a trapezoid. Remember, though, that a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides and a trapezoid has one. The quadrilateral shown here doesn't have two pairs of parallel sides because the first set will touch if extended and isn't parallel. So it's not a parallelogram. If we look closely, we can see that it doesn't even have one pair of parallel sides because the second set will also touch if extended. So this quadrilateral is also not a trapezoid. Because it doesn't meet the requirements of any specific type of quadrilateral, this is just simply a non-specific quadrilateral. You should now know how to tell whether a shape is a rhombus based on its attributes. You know that a rhombus has two sets of parallel sides and four congruent sides. I can see that all three of these shapes shown here have two sets of parallel sides, so they could all be rhombuses. But looking more closely shows me that the shape on top and the shape on the right have only two pairs of congruent sides. Not all four sides congruent, so neither can be a rhombus. The shape on the bottom might look like the sides are not congruent, but if I measure, I find that each side is exactly the same length. This shape meets the requirements of a rhombus, so I can call it a rhombus. In this lesson, you have learned to identify specific kinds of quadrilaterals by looking at their attributes.